All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. It's nice to have you with us today. My name is Karis Sterling, and I'm one of the members of the Bloom campaign team, and I'm going to be your facilitator for today's webinar. We're here with several other members of the campaign team and also many of the young investigators that we worked with in our project. So I see that many people have introduced themselves already, but if not, please do go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat and let us know how you're doing today. We're also really delighted to have quite a few guests from around the world. I'm sure more will join us as the day goes on. So again, if you're a guest here, if you're joining us to learn a bit more about our campaign, then please do introduce yourself and let us know where you're joining us from. So yeah, please just go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat as we proceed with the program for today. So I think without further ado, let's kick it off with some opening remarks from Dr. Kristen Cheney, part of the Bloom campaign team, along with a few words from Doreen Thompson from ShareNet International. So take it away.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Kristen Cheney. I'm Associate Professor of Children and Youth Studies at the International Institute of Social Studies in The Hague. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this launch. This campaign actually grew out of the ShareNet Co-Creation Conference, and I wanted to invite Doreen, before I proceed, to say a little more about it, to tell us just briefly a bit about the Co-Creation Conference. Doreen?
Yes, hi, good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Thank you, Kristen. My name is Doreen Thomassen from ShareNet International, and I'm really glad that I can be here for this launch. And indeed, as Kristen said, I wanted to take you a little bit back to how it all, I think, came about. And that is indeed the Co-Creation Conference last year in 2021. And as a network, the network or knowledge platform on AZUR-HR, we like to bring people together, people from different backgrounds, practitioners, researchers, policymakers, in all their diversity, because we believe together we can better and longer lasting forward the AZUR-HR agenda. Now, ShareNet and all these ambitions, they go hand in hand with co-creation. And during that conference in 2021, the thematic track that was chosen by all our members was on AZUR-HR and young people. And I think here an amazing collaboration started. It was between quite a few organizations and individuals from different parts of the world, I believe, and this resulted in the campaign that we are going to launch today, I understand. And this is for us really like an exemplary result of co-creation. So we're very proud also to be here. Yeah, to me, what I understand, bloom refers to a flower. You are probably going to say a lot more about that. This is a flower of participation, a model that more and more people now know to explain the importance of meaningful youth participation. And yeah, I understand that a series of videos and materials have been developed and that we are going to see quite some of it today. I'm going to look out for it. I'm not the most active person on social media, but I'm there. I'm going to look out for it. And I hope that everyone who is here is going to do the same and is going to like and share because it's very important. And meaningful youth participation is very important to ShareNet as well. I think you know that. It's there everywhere. We've also done our best ourselves to look at ourselves and to see how we can improve meaningful youth participation and engagement in our activities. So we've also developed, and all the credits to Maria, who's also here, and Charlotte, a position paper on meaningful youth participation and youth engagements, which will be out there soon. on our digital platform, on our social media. So yes, I'd like to thank you and support you in all the work. And I look very much forward to what you're going to show and share with everyone today. I think I have to leave it here and hand over back to Kristen or Caris. Kristen, I think I see you nodding.
Yes,
so,
thank you.
Thank you, and good luck. We'll be following.
Great, thank you so much, Doreen. So yes, as we mentioned, it grew out of this co-creation conference from ShareNet, and our particular group formed around the theme of meaningful youth participation. Partners include a number of different organizations, as Doreen said, including the National Network of Young People Living with HIV, that's out of Burundi, Choice for Youth and Sexuality, it's based in the Netherlands, and Gender Health, which is based in the US but works internationally, Living Equality Initiative from Rwanda, the Talent Youth Association from Ethiopia, and the Royal Tropical Institute in the Netherlands. I have representatives who have joined us today, so we're really pleased to have you here as well. In the conference, we observed that despite increasing evidence that meaningful youth participation contributes to improved SRHR, sexual and reproductive health and rights outcomes, and supports young people's ability to exercise their SRHR, there was still a lack of, and still is a lack of, adult stakeholder MYP buy-in. So we therefore proposed this multimedia campaign promoting meaningful youth participation to showcase how adults and youth can engage in mutually beneficial partnerships to leverage each group's skills, knowledge, and capacities to achieve broader impact in the field of SRHR and beyond. It was therefore important to us that the campaign be co-produced with young people. So we wanted to put that into action in the campaign itself, thereby demonstrating a positive model of youth-adult collaboration. The campaign drew on positive examples harvested from our team's shared experiences of successful and sustainable, meaningful youth participation. And it was modeled on the choice, actually, the Choice for Youth and Sexuality's Flower of Participation. And we'll be saying a little more a short video about what that looks like. But basically, it's a tool that uses the flower metaphor to distinguish between different forms and core elements of youth participation. And the team created the media knowledge products that illustrate the processes that were followed to achieve the MYP outcomes in specific projects that we've worked on. So these will help viewers of these knowledge products, most of which are very short videos. Some are also podcasts and things like that, but we'll get more into the different forms that the knowledge products have taken. These will help viewers deepen their knowledge of meaningful youth participation and connect with implementers. So we do encourage you, if you have any questions, to ask them, and also to connect with some of the organizations and youth investigators that were responsible for creating these videos, which also reflect their experiences with meaningful youth participation. By building on the flower metaphor, we can help ground and contextualize the concept of meaningful youth participation in tangible practices and outcomes, thereby increasing buy-in and uptake of meaningful youth participation. With a better understanding of MYP processes and outcomes, we hope the campaign generates more buy-in from adult decision makers and implementers, thus moving from theory to real practice, helping meaningful youth participation grow and bloom. So that's where we came up with that, the acronym of BLOOM. So I'd like to thank ShareNet for supporting this project. I would also like to thank our partners and youth investigators who navigated COVID restrictions around the world to co-produce the knowledge products that they're about to introduce to us. And a special appreciation goes out to our graphic designer, Justine Villegas, who created the visually appealing brand of our campaign. And she's also organized this web launch and actually is orchestrating it now as we speak, and will the videos. So thank you all for your hard work, and without further ado, I declare this campaign open.
Wow, what an opening. What an opening. Thank you so much, Kristen and Doreen, for providing us an overview with the campaign and introducing it and setting it in context. And of course, thank you so much, Justine, for that incredible opening video. I think that shows you what we're in store for today. So let's get into it. So we're now going to move on to presenting the knowledge products that Kristen described. And before we do, it's just important to remember that, as Kristen said, we're guided by the flower of youth participation. And in that flower, there are various different petals which demonstrate different forms of meaningful youth participation, because of course there's not a one-size-fits-all approach. So the way we're going to move forward today is by looking at each of the different knowledge products that were created, which correspond with those different petals. As our youth investigators present, we would love to welcome your questions in the chat, so please feel free to post them there. We do have a couple of moments today where we can take questions, and you can ask the young investigators or the campaign team directly what you wish. So yeah, let's get started. We're going to look to the first petal on our flower of youth participation. And this petal looks at the form of meaningful youth participation, which is youth-led, where adults have no decision-making power. Lovely, thank you for that, Justine. So I'd like to invite our first young investigator to describe and explain their knowledge product. So I would like to welcome from Nepal and Kenya. First of all, Urza from Yuva Nepal, to introduce the Nepal team's knowledge product.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Karis. It's so glad, I'm very glad to be here today and meet some of you again and some of you for the first time. So I'm Urza Umagai from Nepal. I'm 22 and I work at a youth-led youth-run organization called Yuva in Nepal. So I worked as a youth investigator for Campaign Bloom, along with two of my team members, where we explored how the practice of leadership transformation has been a successful example of meaningful youth participation at Yuva. So as a youth-led organization, Yuva tries to put young people at the forefront in program development, implementation, as well as decision-making bodies. And the executive positions, they transform every 2 years, and it is handed over to a fresh batch of young people every 2 years. So in that way, it has not only helped young people find a space and engage meaningfully, but it has also proven to be proven how young people can take leadership positions when given an opportunity. So that is what we did with this project in Campaign Bloom, and I'm very glad to invite you to check out our video and knowledge products, where we talk more about our experiences as well as challenges in practicing leadership transformation and meaningful youth participation. I look forward to knowing about different other projects, and I hope you'll enjoy our knowledge products. Thank you.
Experiences-हरु त्यो हेर्दैनौं नि त केही भ्याकेन्सी कलहरु भलिन्टियर इन्टर्नशिपमा यसरी बोलाइराको हुन्छौं हैन अनि वी मोस्टली फोकस अन यङ पिपल फ्रेशर्सहरु भनेर हुन्छ नि युजुअली अर्गनाइजेसन्सहरुमा एकदम धेरै एक्सपिरियन्सेसहरु माग्ने यस्तो हुन्छ हाम्रो चाहिँ फर्स्ट हाम्रो भनौं न आइडिया नै के हुन्छ भने नयाँ युथलाई एउटा प्लेटफर्म दिउँ भन्ने हुन्छ हैन सो इन दैट वे पनि अलिकति मिनिङफुल पनि हुन्छ अनि त्यसपछि we constantly try to adapt into global concept of what a meaningful participation can mean. And since we're learning new things and learning about where we were lacking पहिला अब अहिलेको यो टाइममा हामीले के बुझेको छौं भने युथको जमात मात्र आएर इज नट इनफ हैन कस्तो खालको युथ आइराछ चाहिने युथहरु आइराको हो कि अलरेडी अपर्चुनिटिज धेरै पाइराको युथहरु आको हो भनेर सो वी ट्राई टु कीप इन माइन्ड त्यो ग्याप्सहरु हैन सो त्यो ग्याप्सलाई फुलफिल गर्दै अब जस्तै इन्क्लुसिभिटीको कुराहरु हुन सक्छ यस्तो ग्याप्सहरु के फुलफिल गर्न मिल्छ भनेर त्यही अनुसार नै we're learning भनौं न so we're always changing so त्यो flexibility पनि I think meaningful राखिरहन्छ.
Thank you so much, Urza, for introducing us to your knowledge product and that little snippet that we got to take a look at there. So next up on this first petal, we have Simon from Kenya. Now, I do believe we actually have Simon in the room. We weren't expecting to be able to have you, but if Simon is in the room, then I invite you to very briefly give a little introduction to your knowledge product. If not, that's totally okay. I know that also the internet can be a bit tricky. So Justine is going to share Simon's knowledge product in the chat later. So that was us for our first petal of participation. And Justine will shortly share the links to both of those knowledge products that we mentioned into our chat. So feel free to check them out later. Oh, we do have Simon. Simon. Hi. Would you like to introduce your knowledge product?
Can you hear me? Hi.
Hi.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I think my network is a bit weak. It keeps on breaking, but I'll try where I can. And
Wonderful.
I already mentioned this is Simon from Kenya. And I just want to give a brief on the research that I took some time back last year on new participation. And it was very interesting to find out there what the youth calls for themselves and what the society calls for them. Very interesting that it's actually very clear that youth are not getting enough time outside there or a trial to prove themselves what they have or what they can do. And they really came out to give reasons why they think that they are not able to participate in different scenarios or different proposals, different projects or different areas of life. And just to give a brief about that, the outcomes that I got during the study is that youth already the way they perceive themselves is how the society is taking them. Like where I come from is a pastoral community whereby those who have a say are the elders. And if a youth have to try to prove himself or herself that he can do something, he has to go a long way. For instance, according to the study, a number of respondents share that a youth, according to the community that they come from, is somebody who is there in their need of leadership, is somebody who will be led, who will be given, and even who don't own anything. And therefore, they cannot be given a chance to even try leadership or participate in any area because they perceive to be very weak. And then in that case, they came out that the reason why they are not given a chance or why they are looked down upon is because they are lesser in the community in terms of resources, in terms of knowledge, information, and it's not that they are disabled, but it's because they are not given a chance to participate fully. They gave a number of proposals that if only they are given a chance to exercise their power, they can change the entire life that they are going through as youth. For instance, they came out and said that they are going to form some groups or a certain platform whereby they will be able to channel their efforts together, work together, and try to defend each other. Remember, in the community, there are people who have been so much oppressed by culture to the extent that they cannot even speak for themselves. And the youth decided that they are coming up with a platform whereby they go to be used for speaking to all of them. And therefore, I really wish to share some slides or at least a print of what we'll be discussing with the youth outside there, their views, and how they can be supported in case of any move, so that they can be able to come out and challenge the status quo. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Simon. And yeah, we're really happy that we got to have you here and hear firsthand from you. So thank you so much. And yeah, definitely check out the links which have been posted in the chat, and also Justine is sharing her screen and showing off what the knowledge product produced by Simon looks like. So let's, I would love to keep going, but let's move on to our next petal. So Justine can introduce that with her video. Lovely, thank you, Justine. So as you can see, the second petal is youth-led, but shared decision-making with adults. And under this petal, we have one knowledge product produced from Ethiopia by Lulit Mengesha. Unfortunately, she cannot be with us today, but she did send us her greetings through a pre-recorded video, which we will play to you now.
Hi everyone, my name is Lulit Mengesha and I'm 23. I'm from an organization called Talent Youth Association, or TAYA, in Ethiopia, where I work as a SRH advocacy officer. So in the Bloom campaign, I've been engaging as a young investigator to study how MYP is successfully implemented in my organization, or TAYA. So TAYA puts young people at the center and at the front to build their capacities in so many ways. And TAYA gives young people an opportunity to participate in a way that enables them to participate and represent young people at different stages. So young people are given a freedom of choice to participate, responsibility, information, and voice, as well as decision-making power in our organization. So that's what we're trying to show in our video. So I kindly invite you to watch our video, share it with your friends and family, and learn a lot from it. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you.
ከካፓሲቲ ቢልዲንግ ከአቅም ግንባታ ጀምሮ እስከ ነገሮችን ለመለወጥ የመቻል እድል ኃላፊነት ሰጥቶኝ እስከ መስራት ድረስ እኔ ጥቅም አግኝቻለሁ። ድርጅቱ ደግሞ የወጣቶች ተሳትፎ ለወጣቶቹ ስለራሳቸው ጉዳይ ምን ይፈልጋሉ የሚለውን ነገር ለማወቅ ይችላል በእኔ በኩል ብዬ አስባለሁ። ፕሮጀክቶች ባለፈ እንዲሁም የድርጅቱ ስትራክቸር ጋም እዛ ውስጥም ያለንና አንዳንድም ዲሲዥን ሜኪንግ ወይም ደግሞ የውሳኔ መስጠት አቅሙም ተሰጥቶን እንደዚህ አይነት ደረጃ እየተሳተፉ ነው።
እሺ እኔ በመሳተፌ ብዙ ጥቅሞችን አግኝቻለሁ። የተለያዩ ክህሎቶችን አዳብሬያለሁ። ኮንፊደንስ እንዲኖረኝ፣ በራስ መተማመን እንዲኖረኝ ሆኛለሁ። ፕላስ ደግሞ ሊደርሺፕንም ገና ካሁን ከወጣትነቴ እንዴት መሪ መሆን እንደምችል ኤክሰርሳይዝ እያደረኩ ነው እና ለእኔ ትልቅ ጥቅም አለው።
እንደኔ አንደኛ ኃላፊነትን የመውሰድ ወይም ደግሞ የመሸከም እንትንን እንዳዳብር አድርጎኛል። ምክንያቱም ገና ከወጣትነት ጀምሮ ስለሆነ ድርጅት ላይ የተቀላቀልኩት ኃላፊነትን መሸከም የሚለውን ስሜት እንድረዳ አድርጎኛል። ከዛ ደግሞ የተለያዩ ፖዚሽኖችን በማየቴ ምን ያክል ኤክስፒሪየንስን እንዳገኘሁበት
Thanks, Justine. So that was a lovely message from Lulit, and you got to see a little snippet of Taya's incredible footage and the documentary that they made for their knowledge product. So Justine will now share the link to that knowledge product under the second petal of participation in the chat. And then it's time to move on to the third petal. And this petal is similar to the last one, but a little bit different. And so it is adult-led shared decisions with youth. Great. So under this petal, we have another knowledge product from Ethiopia. So we're going to post that again into the chat box so that you can check it out later. At this point, now that you've got a nice flavor of what's in store and what's on offer in terms of the Bloom campaign and all the content that has been researched and then produced by our wonderful young investigators, we want to just pause briefly and ask the audience if there are any questions that you have so far that you might want to pose to the young investigators who you've heard from. So feel free to post your questions in the chat if you have them. And we can just take a moment to ask any questions that you might have. Or maybe you're still digesting, in which case that's okay, because there's also time for questions at the end. Let's give everyone a moment. I see there was a comment that one of the links wasn't working. Thank you for flagging that. We can check on that afterwards. So thanks a lot for letting us know. If there are no questions at this point, that is not a problem. You can continue to have a think, share anything that you want to in the chat as we're going, and then we can come to it later on. So we would like to then continue with the presentation of our knowledge products. And this is us moving on to the fourth petal, the fourth and final petal. Which is where the majority of our campaign's knowledge products are. And this is quite interesting, and I think, reflective of kind of the state of meaningful participation and how it kind of is successfully operationalized in lots of contexts. So this petal is on the kind of model of youth-adult partnerships. So I'll invite Justine to play the video introducing this one. Thank you. So as you can see, that model of youth participation is really shared power between young people and adults, and that is where many of the young investigators found their kind of their participation to lie. So under this fourth petal of participation, we have knowledge products from all around the world, from Indonesia, India, Malawi, Rwanda, and Zambia. So let us hear first from our young investigator, Ayunita from Indonesia. So Anne, we invite you to unmute and introduce yourself briefly. Anne, are you able to unmute and speak?
Hello everyone. I have a good feeling. Hello everyone. I have a good feeling for today because I'm so excited about this event. Let me introduce myself as Ayunita Syawe and usually called as Ayun. I'm 29 years old from Indonesia. I'm an artist and currently studying about art management in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. I have a concern about youth, gender, and sexuality issues and more or less express these issues in my art. So it also makes me delightful to participate as young investigator in Bloom campaign by ShareNet International. As young person, it is important to understand the meaning of self-involvement in all activities. 2 years from 2017 until 2019 being part of Kita Sama in the SRXR program has been a lesson for me that MYP, or meaningful youth participation, is an important theory to be practiced in any way possible. MYP not only benefits young people, but also adults because there is complete involvement towards a common goal. As my excitement today for the launching of my creative videos, there are 4 videos consist of investigation with 3 young people and 1 adult representative. Let's see a brief of a video from one of them. Proficiat! Yang pernah kamu lakukan?
Kalau yang pernah aku lakukan, gimana ya? Sebetulnya yang pertama ketika misalnya komunikasi gitu ya harus berani, harus berani mengutarakan pendapat karena jarang gimana ya? Karena aku juga Yun kadang-kadang ya kalau misalkan mengutarakan pendapat itu tuh punya kekhawatiran salah gitu loh. Tapi nggak sih, jadi kalau misalkan dari mereka ngomong apa, terus kitanya nanggepin lain, kita mencoba untuk menegosiasikan itu, kita coba untuk mengutarakan apa yang sebetulnya kita butuhkan dan menjadi kendala. Nah, ya kita sampaikan meskipun dengan kadang-kadang ada cekcok sedikit, seperti itu. Tapi mau gimana pun ya, menurutku ya, harusnya sih nggak apa-apa kita mengutarakan semua apa yang menjadi ketidaksepakatan kita kepada orang dewasa.
Thank you so much. So there we have a snippet of Ian's work, and Ian, I think like many of the young investigators, faced lots of challenges imposed by coronavirus, as we all know, and wasn't able to do the interviews that she wanted to in person, but she overcame that challenge and did some fantastic and very in-depth Zoom interviews, which I think, as you can see there, provides lots of really interesting and rich insights from the people that she spoke with. The links to the full videos are now again shared in our chat box, so I hope that you will enjoy checking those out later on. So now I invite one of our fellow team members, actually, Dr. Priyanka Kochar, who is going to introduce us to the India team's knowledge product.
Thank you so much, Keris. I'm audible, right? So hi, everyone. A very warm welcome and thank you for making it here. I am going to talk briefly about our engagement and in gender health, where we, implemented a project until September for six months period. We call this project I Am the Change Today and Tomorrow. I Act. So the goal of this project was to engage and empower young people to serve as agents of change through a campaign that was done both at national and state levels, and to basically stop COVID transmission in their communities. This was a very short duration, May to September 2021 initiative, and was supported by Government of India as well as the WHO India office. It was completely a youth-driven approach where we identified the youth champions from across 11 states in India, and created networks to them, and they were continuously activated and to support us. So a lot of energy for us went into identifying these young champions we made sure that they were, they represented districts that were just not urban, but peri-urban, rural, and they represented multiple organizations. Most of them were within the age 15 to 35, and we ensured gender distribution, ensuring that, all the gender are represented. And we also, to kind of, guide us through the project, we engaged a youth advisory council where we brought in about 7 young people from across India to provide us really critical inputs. A very interesting thing from this project was that we initiated this project with a youth survey where we talked to young people through online surveys, tele-interviews. About 2,500 young people participated, and we had one-on-one interviews with about 60 young people across the states of India. A very interesting thing about this project was that this was totally a project where we were doing course corrections all during our project period. It was never a time that as an adult driven organization, we had some plans in mind, but when our young advisors were brought on board, there were a lot of changes. For example, a key input to this project was to design communication materials on key thematic areas around SRH, maternal health, COVID response. So all of these materials were definitely, they were checked with the youth advisors and the young champions themselves. They kind of guided us what works. We started working with the videos, but at the end we ended up working with small GIF based things. And digital platforms were really used for this project. It was both an application, Delta, which we used, which was a mobile-based application, and to actually disseminate the messages. At the end of the project, 6 months, we were able to reach about 1.4 million young people, additionally to like 500 young champions that were engaged in the project. And very happy to note that this engagement was done across 9 languages in India, which is like a really a big task, which was a big task for us. So thank you so much. I'm going to hand over to Justin to show you a brief video. And I'm also joined by my young colleague who helped me through this process. Dhruv, please wave a hi if you are there.
This is Dhruv.
So thank you, Dhruv, for joining. So over to you, Justin, to just give everybody a glimpse of what we did. Thank you so much.
I am the change today and tomorrow. I am the change today and tomorrow. मी आज आणि उद्याचा बदल आहे.
With the support of the World Health Organization, Engender Health and the YP Foundation,
brought together their strengths, expertise, and experience in working with youth to strategically engage young people as change agents for COVID-19 response as part of the I Act initiative. The initiative is a youth-driven, youth-engaged approach where young people are involved at every level to provide critical and timely inputs. These informed, enthusiastic and responsible youth champions were not just chosen. They were selected after a long process of careful consideration of their existing reach and previous work around COVID-19 and their connection with youth networks. Equal representation of youth champions on the basis of gender and demography was established as a non-negotiable for the initiative. A rigorous online survey conducted in 9 languages and tele-interviews with young people were used to gauge the current information gaps, understanding and communication needs of young people between the ages of 15 and 35.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Priyanka, for sharing and for that amazing video snippet that we got to see. I think it's really awesome that we got to include such a recent example as well of engaging young people in a really contemporary problem. So yeah, thank you so much for being here and for speaking with us today. So now I would love to invite Priska Chakaloma from Malawi, who is going to introduce to us her team's knowledge products.
Hi everyone, my name is Priska Chakaloma. I'm from Malawi and I'm really excited to be here. I'm working for an organization called Center for Youth Empowerment and Civic Education. So this is an organization that's focusing on youth-related programs across the scope SRHR, youth empowerment and issues of human rights. I was part of the Bloom campaign as a youth investigator, and my focus was engaging young people just to get their views on how meaningful youth participation has really benefited them after the various orientations and capacity buildings that we've been doing as an organization. How I got into passion for meaningful youth participation, it was the issues that were coming out from the community where young people were not being heard, their voice was not being heard, they were not able to make decisions in different community development structures, but also different community development activities. Young people were often being sidelined and they didn't understand how they can be able to make a change in their community. So after being capacity built by partners, I saw the need that this should be a passion of mine where I should impart this knowledge to young people that even they have a right to participate in issues for their lives, in issues at community level, in issues of decision making. It's their right to participate. So I got that passion and I've been building the capacity of young people for over 8 years. And we've really seen some great impact, some great stories we've heard about the importance of meaningful youth participation. So I'm really excited to share with you a small brief of a story from Malawi that really happened because of the impact of meaningful youth participation. So I hope you really enjoyed. Have a good time. Thank you.
Ndimukuona kuti MYP inathandizira motani kusintha kwa kudera kwanuko.
Okay, ndingana kuti MYP inathandiza kwambiri kutengera nkuona kuti munthu nthawi imene tinkangokhala sakuizwa MYP sitimaziwa kuti ngatani ngatifa chinyamata pochita zinthu zina. Ndipo mwina anthu ena akankatitenga ngandifa anthu osokoneza ngati chinyamata kuderawo. Mukuziwa inu dera kuti likumvesese kuti wachinyamata likulandire pa gawo loti pala akulu ena ake kuti mukhale mbosokambira zake zimatengedwa ngazovuta nthawi imeneyo. Kumefona kuti pano pa MYP inabweresa kwazindikirisa magawo ena akuderacha amene ali oti analipo nkalewo komanso anyamata kutidziwisa kuti ubwino kana mmagulu osiyanasiyana amene ali ochita zinthu zachitukuko zakudera koma zolongosokawo zinatithandiza kuona kuti panopa akumayamba kutidziwa bwino.
As involving youth in development issues, and giving them a platform to make decisions at different decision-making structures. For example, under Lingual World, we have been practicing women empowerment under the concept of meaningful youth participation, where we have elected into leadership a young girl below the age of 20 who sits with adults in the Area Development Committee.
Thank you, Priska, for introducing us to Malawi's knowledge products. So now we're going to hear from actually a team of youth investigators who are joining us from Rwanda. We have Sandra, Gerard, Emmanuel, and Aloisi. So I would like to invite one representative from that team to briefly introduce their knowledge product.
Hi everyone, I am Gerard Twagirimana, youth investigator from Rwanda. In education, I have bachelor degree with honor in filmmaking and film production from East African University of Rwanda, and certificate of leadership and emotional intelligence from Indian School of Business. Also, I expertise in media and graphic design in SRHR. I am the champion on sexual reproductive health and rights in Living Equality Initiative organization. So I'm happy to join in a project like this and to participate in the Bloom campaign team for sharing our knowledge products, because today the adolescents and younger girls and youth, even duty, they need to know the real information about sexual reproductive health and rights. They need to know more about it. These help them to make decisions about reproductive health and rights, to have a freedom of choice because they have enough information that will help them to enjoy equal voice of knowledge in sexual reproductive health and rights. In our area, there are some people still feel that talking about sexual reproductive health is shame, but no. For me and my colleague, we joined this organization for the purpose of learning and buying more. That will help us to engage young people or to teach our society, especially youth, to know and participate in a sexual reproductive health and rights. No one else will be involved, it's us. Also, I invite you to watch out our videos and different knowledge products on Bloom campaign social media. Thank you.
y'u Rwanda
cyane cyane mu bigo by'amashuri usanga nk'abana bamwe mwigana hari abagize bagira ubukene cyangwa bitewe no mu muryango n'ibibazo baba bafite, ugasanga bishoyemo ubusambanyi bagakuramo inda z'indaro. Nyine
aho ntuye urubyiruko rufite amakuru ari hasi cyane, kubera ko abenshi nzi batwaye inda imburagihe. Kubera iki? Akenshi usanga ababyeyi barabigizemo uruhare, kubera ko umwana arakura umubyeyi atamuba hafi, ntagire n'uwo yabaza amakuru cyangwa se ngo amugire inama y'ukuntu igihe tuvuge ku mukobwa azatangira kubonera imihango agomba kwitwara, cyangwa se umuhungu mu gihe hari igihe ageramo akaba yatera inda n'ukuntu azabyitwaramo, cyangwa se akaba atazi ngo twadukingirizo dukoreshwa gute, ntabe yarabonye amakuru.
Ababyeyi ntago bose babasha kuba bagira imbaraga zo kuganiriza abana babo ku buzima bw'imyororokere, kuko harimo bamwe batinya kuba babiganiriza abana bigendanye n'imyemerere cyangwa se imico itandukanye bagiye bafite. Aho usanga bamwe badatinyuka kuba babibwira abana bavuga ko ari za kirazira, ariko tubona ko bikwiriye ko umwana wese akwiye kuba yagira amakuru, by'umwihariko urubyiruko kuko ari rwo Rwanda rw'ejo.
Amakuru ntago ahagije bitewe n'uko ntago ahantu hose
wenda mu mijyi birahari ariko mu nce z'ibyaro usanga abana bose badafite ubuzima nyine amakuru ahagije ku bijyanye n'ubuzima bw'imyororokere.
Thank you, Justine, for that snippet, and thank you so much, Gerard, for presenting on behalf of your team, Sandra, Emmanuel, and Aloisi. Yeah, fantastic to see that really lovely produced documentary. I hope everyone looks forward to checking the rest of that out later. So now we're moving on to our last presenter under the 4th petal of participation, Jesus Dior Kantukego from Burundi. So I will invite Jesus to speak in a second, but before I do, I just wanted to remind everyone, because we have all of our young investigators, or many of our young investigators in the room, and I'm sure you might be wanting to ask them further questions, to please do drop your questions in the chat, or any comments or feedback as well, so that we can have a discussion once all of the presentations have finished. But let's move on to Jesus. So I invite you to present your knowledge product.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm sorry I don't have a good connection and I don't want to take you too much time. I'm just going to introduce myself and then I'll try to send you a video in the group. So my name is Jesus Dior Kantukego. I am Burundian and I'm also a young investigator, holder of various rights. I am executive director of the Human Rights Association. I represent the movement of the LGBTQI community in Africa in Burundi. As a young investigator, I would say that I have a strong capacity in project management since I joined my community and the associations, and I am also a leader, defender of the rights of the members of my community. So I invite you to follow me on my page, Facebook, Jesus Dior, or on the page of our BHR organization. And I would like to invite any young person who is part of Room campaign to give their opinion within their movement or organization. Thank you.
Nitwa Jesus Dior Kantukego, chargé de plaidoyer et mobilisation communautaire muri organisation Rainbow Candlelight, RCL en sigle. Je représente la communauté LGBTIQ+, TS, Homo MSM. Ego cyane. Kuri jewe, participation significative des jeunes ntahura ko ari élaboration y'ama politique yashizweho kugira les jeunes comme moi bamenye ko mu matravaux yose baba bariko barakoreramwo hamwe n'abantu nk'aba adultes bashobora kuronka une opportunité, une occasion yo kuba consulter et informer sur le travail iriko irakorwa. Société en général ntivyoroshe kuko nga ndashaka kuvuga nti parfois non ou parfois oui, kuko nja kuvuga parfois non muri société en général kuko haraho utaronka une occasion yo kuba consulter et informer. Mais kuva negeshira hamwe ndi muri communauté nabo nyene barampaye une occasion yo kumva yuko nanje nshobora kuba consulter et informer donc sur les travaux en cours. Ko jenda bitahura nuko ari vyiza cyane ko umujene aronka akaryo ko kumenya ibikorwa biriko birakorwa, bien que adashaka kugira une décision afashe ko conception, mise en œuvre canke ibindi vyose suivi évaluation tout ça sur les travaux ou les projets, akamenya ibiriko birakorwa aussi akaronka akaryo ko kuba consulter kugira igikorwa kigende neza. Bumvise donc nka point de vue yiwe ni vyiza cyane muri participation significative des jeunes ari.
Thank you so much, Jesus, and also for that snippet of your fantastic video. Great to hear the work that you've been doing. And I see a comment in the chat from Catherine, who says she's totally agreeing with Gerard's team's finding. The challenges that they encountered in their country on menstruation and SRHR have been a hiccup as well for Malawian youth, although through government efforts, government and organizational efforts, we are making strides in saving our young people better. And she says, thank you so much for sharing the findings. So it's great to hear that these experiences are resonating across different contexts, which is fantastic to hear. So that was that concludes the presentation of knowledge products under the fourth petal of participation youth-adult partnerships. Justine is busy sharing those links to the full playlist of the knowledge products categorized under this petal. And just a reminder that if you don't manage to catch these links while they're in the chat, do not worry, because they will be shared in a follow-up email after this webinar, and they're also available on the Bloom website and social media. So now we're going to move on to the final two petals of participation before we make some time for another quick discussion moment with our audience. So I invite Justine to play the fifth petal video. Thanks, Justine. So those were the final two petals of participation. And just a quick reminder that in our model of youth participation, which is of course the flower, these kind of are depicted as the leaves. So they're different to the level of participation of the petals on the flower. But I think what's really important to remember is that the flower illustrates all sorts of different models of meaningful youth participation, and young people can be meaningfully involved in different ways. There is definitely not a one-size-fits-all approach, and I hope that the examples that we have in our campaign really illustrate that. So yeah, I hope that offers some inspiration as well to you. So we have two knowledge products which are categorized under this fifth petal of participation, and these are again from Ethiopia. Justine has shared the links to those petals, so we're inviting you to check those out later on. And that brings us to the end of our presentations. I know that was kind of a whirlwind preview of all sorts of different and really interesting content and research, which has been taking place over the last several months. So I hope you enjoyed that premiere. And yeah, I hope you liked hearing from our young investigators. So now we have a moment for any questions or any concluding remarks, any final comments you wanted to make or ask while you have this incredible group in the room. So it's a great opportunity to ask questions or yeah, find out more or make some connections with some of the young investigators that we have in the room. So yeah, this is an invitation to ask your questions. You can do so in the chat, or if you'd rather not type, you can also unmute yourself and just speak directly. I'll give everyone a moment to have a think and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you, Simon, for that message. He says it's imperative to understand that youth in Africa share similar challenges, and he's really happy that he's not alone in fighting for change and space for youth. Happy to hear that, Simon. Priska's also saying that she's loving all the knowledge products and very excited to watch them all in depth later.
Karis, could I say something very quickly?
Yes, please.
I just wanted to, again, thank everyone for the knowledge products they put together that really help us get a sense of what their experiences have been with meaningful youth participation. And I'm really pleased that even though there are, as you say, many different ways, these different petals represent the many different ways that young people can be involved, I was pleased that a lot of the campaigns that were highlighted were ones where there was more decision-making power on the part of young people. And I think we see really clearly what the benefits of some of that are, especially in the context that a lot of people are describing. And we get just a small sense of that from the brief clips that we've seen. But I do encourage people to go back to these full knowledge products, have a look at them, to get more in-depth information about that, especially where you're involved in organizations that may be really hesitant to bring young people on board and more decision-making and design sorts of fashion, so that you can help to allay a lot of the concerns or fears or hesitation of people in your group. I know when we have done, when myself and other people I've worked on projects with have done youth participation in research, for example, there's a lot of questions about young people's competency to perform research and their capabilities. And actually, we're always, even ourselves, when we're invested in that, we're very surprised by just how well, when you give young people that kind of space, how well they take it on and how well they do and how much they grow, and what kinds of even ancillary benefits happen beyond just the scope of the project. So I really encourage people to have a closer look at that and to share these things widely with their colleagues and friends to really help open these spaces for meaningful youth participation. So thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for that comment, Kristen. And I think, yeah, that's really also, when we were designing this campaign, we were really hoping that these products would help to alleviate some of that fear that you mentioned, that kind of hesitancy with implementing meaningful youth participation, because it can be a bit of a leap of faith, but hopefully these knowledge products show that, it is really, really worthwhile. I see a raised hand from Nahla. I hope I'm saying your name right. Feel free to unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, hi Karis, hi everyone. My name is Nahla. I'm a student in ISS student of care and Kristen, and also I am work in Lentera Anak, one of CSO in Indonesia that work on the tobacco control issue. We use meaningful youth participations in tobacco control issues, but we face some problems like I also very thankful with all the best practice from all around the world about meaningful youth participation is very helpful and very insightful for me. But I have a question like how to use meaningful youth participation, but also for the problem of tobacco control and youth led participation, it's not really I think we face problem like for example, when they involve in campaigns, they face buzzer from like because tobacco control like tobacco industry, they attack the youths, and sometimes it makes youths like afraid to say whatever they want to say and involved in campaign. How we face this, and yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Nahla. So sorry, could you just repeat your question at the very end, and then we can maybe invite one of our young investigators or teammates to speak. Could you just clarify what your question is?
Yeah, maybe there is a best practice that if we use meaningful youth participation, but we also have like some community that attack the people, the youths, for example, like in tobacco control issues, when young people involved in campaign, for example, or they involved in advocacy activities, and then the like industry, like tobacco industry, they attack the youths when they use meaningful youth participation. I don't know if it can discuss here, but maybe this is sometimes because when we give pull to people, to young people, they said they afraid to participate in tobacco control issues because they afraid about that, afraid about buzzer, about industry, industry attack them, something like that.
Okay, so yeah, so on the one hand, you're looking for kind of like best practices, and then you're also looking for kind of how people can overcome that backlash, maybe. Well, I think in terms of the best practices, then I hope that this campaign is useful to you, because if you go to our website and you refer to our model, which is the flower of participation, you can really see it kind of breaks meaningful youth participation down into core elements. And there are 5 core elements which are kind of necessary in different proportions for meaningful youth participation to be truly meaningful. In terms of the question of how to deal with backlash, I would love to maybe invite someone from our audience or our group or team to, if you have an experience of this, maybe share your advice or your reflections for Nahla, because I think this is a really, really interesting question. So is there somebody maybe from our team who would like to, who has some thoughts on this?
Let me try. Hello.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm not sure if I got the question right, but I will try and answer from how I understood it. So I'll give an experience of the campaign that I did. At first, young people and adults, they did not have like a conducive relationship where they would work together as a team. Because the adults did not look at young people as being someone who's mature enough to lead, or as someone who would make a decision on their own without having guidance from the adults. So it took corrective effort by an organization I used to work with, a Center for Youth Empowerment and Civic Education, under a project that we were implementing on Get Up, Speak Out for young people. So it was a 5-year project. the fight was hard, but we managed to train young people in leadership skills on how they would demand for their spaces in the communities. So the campaign that I did, it focused on a young person who used to be a mayor youth, but through the efforts of fellow young people and adults together, he's now in leadership position, bringing the change that young people in the past were unable to bring in the different communities. So it's a fight of mindset change. You cannot do it alone, but you have to do it as a team. The young people and the adults all engaged. So what you have to do is capacitate the young people to have the skills on how they can demand their spaces in the different platforms that they find themselves in. I'm not sure if I have been able to tackle what she asked. That's what I can share.
Thank you so much, Catherine. And yeah, I definitely think that's a really useful insight, and hopefully, Nahla, that's sparking some thoughts for you. Priska, you also have a raised hand. Would you like to chip in?
Yeah, I think I just wanted to add on what Catherine has mentioned. I think getting adults to understand the importance of meaningful youth participation is a process. So it involves engaging them from the beginning, letting them understand what meaningful youth participation is, but also what are the benefits for them as adults when young people are meaningfully participating. Excuse me. So I think it's also important to build the capacity of the adults so that they know, using the model that Caris has mentioned, the flow of participation. Some people just think that young people are in the room, then that's meaningful participation. But they need to understand that there are different levels of meaningful participation that we want to attain at the end of the day. And they also need to understand the benefits. So it's also good to share some experiences from elsewhere, how it worked. And I think the stories that we have here are also something that we can utilize to lobby and advocate for meaningful youth participation in different platforms, because now we see the actual stories on the ground that have happened elsewhere. And it's something that they can see that, okay, so meaningful youth participation is important, then you can bring change to the community. I think I just wanted to add that.
Thanks, Priska. And I think that's a really good point as well about the capacity strengthening goes both ways. It's not just young people that need capacity strengthening in order to work with adults, but also adults it really benefit from it as well. So thank you for raising that. I see a question from Prasan, who's saying, will you please elaborate on what you did in your effort to make collaboration possible, Catherine? Maybe you can elaborate a little bit, Catherine, if you want.
Okay, so as I said, in the project that we were doing on Get Up, Speak Out, as Priska has highlighted, that we had to make the adults to understand, because we wanted to bring change for young people, for their stories to be heard, for their stories to be understood. So what better way than to engage the young people themselves? So we cannot do that by leaving the adults behind. So we had to, in as much as we were capacitating the young people, we were also capacitating the leaders, like the gatekeepers. We call them the chiefs, the religious leaders, the mother groups, the father groups, the community person, every community structure that is available in the community that work hand in hand with the young people. So we were working on young people at the same time working on the adults, so that we provide a platform where when they meet to interface, they are all speaking the same language. They are not contradicting one another. So it was a fight of let a young person lead with the backing of the leaders, or with the backing of the people that are adults.
Thank you, Catherine. And Kristen, I think you have something to add.
Yeah, I was just going to say that in a lot of the projects we do, one of the ways that we get buy-in from our adult counterparts who might be skeptical is to remind them, or who are the experts about young people's lives? It's not us, right? It's not adults, it's actually the young people themselves. So we try to think about, or rethink, I guess, this idea of expertise, that expertise only comes with adulthood, but rather that young people understand best what they're going through, especially around sensitive topics that might have to do with sexuality when that is something that's taboo. And it's also helpful for breaking down some of these issues that were raised in some of the knowledge products about sexuality being a taboo topic, right? That this is part of what we need to break through in order to make sure that we have buy-in from people. So I think that really helps to sort of think about, okay, who has the expertise here? Actually, it's young people who understand best what they're going through, and can also talk to other young people, because we know, that because there are these generational taboos, it makes no sense for us to try and do things like research with young people who might, find it really inappropriate to talk to older people about what they're thinking about when it comes to issues of sexuality. But they do talk to each other. They talk to their friends, they talk to their peers. So that's how we've made space in some of our projects for example, peer researchers, to say this works better because the people who are the same age can really get the kind of information we need in order to inform the kinds of changes that we want to make or we want to see. So maybe that's helpful. But I think it just builds on what some of the others have said, is that you need to capacity build with adults as well, to make them open to the expertise of young people.
Thank you so much, Kristen. And I think that point about expertise is really at the core of it all, right? And something, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have heard this little phrase, but something that we often say is nothing about us without us. Nothing should involve or nothing should be implemented for a certain group without the really meaningful input and participation of that group. Otherwise, it's not going to hit the spot. Really interesting discussion and some really, really nice points here. I hope that you're enjoying the space. Are there other questions? Does anyone else want to pick the brains of these experts while you have them in the room? I'm seeing a lot of gratitude in the chat for everyone for being here. An appreciation for everyone's efforts, which is lovely to see.